What will it take for Juan Soto to knock off Shohei Ohtani in the MVP race this year? We'll talk about it on today's show.
You are Locked On Mets, your daily New York Mets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello to all you amazing Mets fans. You're watching Locked On Mets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Ryan Finkelstein. If you want to find any of my work, follow me on X at Finkelstein Ryan. You can also find some of my writing at justbaseball.com, where I work as the managing editor. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Back in September, we were having MVP debates on this show as I was talking about why Francisco Lindor deserved the MVP over Shohei Ohtani. At the time, at the beginning of September, I believe Lindor had played Shohei Ohtani to a dead heat in the MVP race. Then we saw what happened in September, where Shohei Ohtani gets to the 50-50 club and Lindor hurts his back at the end of the season. Some might still argue for Lindor as the most impactful player in the National League last season, and I would still make that case. I think if you really were to boil down what is valuable, Lindor, with all the intangibles, was the most valuable player in the NL, but I understand the way these awards are voted on, and it's more a most outstanding player who had the best stats, and obviously Ohtani, no doubt about it, won the award in a landslide because of how gaudy the numbers were. Now the Mets have a new MVP candidate in Juan Soto, and he is about to play in this division for the next 15 years. And for the first 9 of them, Shohei Ohtani will be playing out this $700 million contract that he signed to go and start a dynasty with the Dodgers. While Juan Soto just beat Ohtani when it comes to total value on a contract and beat him by a lot, make no mistake about it, this is still Shohei Ohtani's league. And I'm not even just talking about the National League. I'm talking about Major League Baseball. Right now, we are in the Ohtani era. And there's really nothing any player can do to knock Ohtani off of that perch atop this league because he is one of a kind. There's never been another player who has done what he has when it comes to pitching and hitting. And when he's not pitching, he's creating his own club of a 50-50 club that no one's ever done before. He's remarkable, and he is the most marketed player in the game. You see now the baseball season starts at a different time for the Dodgers than everybody else because year in, year out, they're going to have Ohtani and the Dodgers have a series played in Japan to get all of this, crazy, widespread hysteria around Ohtani, bottle it up for a series, and really placate to a market where Major League Baseball is soaring in popularity because of Ohtani, and then secondarily guys that are on the center stage right now in that series with Shota Minaga and Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Roki Sasaki. There are other players in these games, Seiya Suzuki, that come from Japan, but it's all about Ohtani. I mean, this league is about Ohtani. Ohtani has a Fortnite skin that just came out. I don't play. I don't entirely know what that means, but 12-year-olds everywhere can go around killing people on Fortnite as Shohei Ohtani shooting a machine gun or whatever it is. Ohtani last year, I talked about this on my show a lot. When you watched a game on MLB.tv, how many times did you see that, hey, Shohei Ohtani commercial, the Reebok commercial, was a New Balance commercial? He is everywhere. And so it's going to be very tough for Juan Soto to do anything to knock Ohtani off of that mountaintop. And when you think about what the National League is going to be for the next 9 seasons, which is Juan Soto's prime, that is age 26 up to 35. This is the window for Juan Soto, but there is a huge roadblock in his way of achieving all the things that he wants to become an all-time great. And that is potentially the greatest of all time standing in his way in the National League. Shohei Ohtani created that contract with the Dodgers that defers $680 million of a $700 million deal, not only because he makes so much money off the field that it doesn't really matter, but by doing that, under this current CBA, and we'll see what changes with the new one, the Dodgers have been able to get a monopoly on talent. They're going to continue to get all the top players from Japan like they have with Yamamoto and Sasaki. But they've also been able to structure their payroll to be able to make a trade for Tommy Edman, lock him up and sign him. Oh, we already have a great bullpen. Who cares? Let's get Tanner Scott. That's not good enough. Let's get Kirby Yates. They have the ability to outspend because of the way he structures things, and that team is not going anywhere. They will be the favorite, most likely, year in, year out for the better part of the next decade. Shohei Ohtani, when he's looking at who to compare himself to, it's not Juan Soto or Aaron Judge. It's Babe Ruth. And it's trying to go down as the best player to ever play this game. Babe Ruth, at this point, is still probably considered baseball's GOAT. 714 home runs, 7 World Series, won a batting title and an ERA title. You look at career WAR, who has the most wins above replacement ever, still Babe Ruth. With that said, you have a guy like Barry Bonds who won 7 MVPs. If not for steroids, maybe he would have pushed Babe Ruth in that conversation. He is sort of nullified because of the steroids, but I know some that watch Barry Bonds play that will say Bonds was better than Ruth. A-Rod, another guy that steroids impacted. You have guys from the past like Willie Mays, Ty Cobb, Ted Williams, all these different players that get a little part of that conversation. But I'd say at this point, consensus is still that Ruth is the greatest ever. Shohei Ohtani, he's never going to catch that career WAR for Babe Ruth, which is at 182.6. I don't know how you calculate WAR from the early 1900s, but they have with Baseball Reference. Ohtani has a 42.8 career WAR at this stage through 7 seasons. Last year, he posted 9 wins as a DH alone. 10 wins for him in 2023, 6.1 as a hitter, 3.9 as a pitcher. 2022, 3.4 wins as a hitter, 6.2 as a pitcher. So it was a 9.6 WAR season. Aaron Judge beat him in the MVP with an 11-win season. So you have to get to an absurd level to beat Ohtani in the MVP race. Otherwise, he's going to win it. He's won 3 of the last 4. And outside of Barry Bonds, no one's ever won more than 3. The modern day MVP came in 1931, so that maybe impacted some of the MVPs that Babe Ruth would have won. But the bottom line is, if Ohtani's looking up at anyone, it's, I'm going to get to 8 MVPs to beat Barry Bonds. I'm going to put together as many 10-win seasons as I can. And if he does that over the next 9 years of his contract, he'll be sitting at 130 wins across his career. Still 50 behind Ruth, but he'll be in that upper echelon in MLB history. And if he does beat Bonds and MVPs and he's a pitcher for even 4 more years and has some great stats there and then continues to do what he has offensively, he's going to be the greatest of all time in a lot of people's eyes. I don't think Juan Soto has a chance to push him for that. But what I do think Juan Soto can do is he can be a better winner than Shohei Ohtani in this decade, and he still could be a better hitter. So could Juan Soto end up going down as the greatest hitter of his generation? I want to talk about that a little bit in just a minute. First, though, a quick word from our sponsors. Today's episode is brought to you by Supply House. Get supplies you need from the site that's made for skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're into plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need to learn fast from coast to coast. And if you need help with your order, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And if you're a trade pro looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use the promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing better than catching an MLB game live. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, and the smell of ballpark food. If you're looking to go last minute, Game Time is going to make it easier than ever for you to get tickets with last minute deals, all-in pricing, and the lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, the ticket prices drop as game time gets closer, meaning you can score an incredible deal. I just went to spring training last week with my dad, got our tickets through Game Time, and I was kicking myself because I had this thought as I'm sitting in my seat a little bit after the game. Game had started. I said, I wonder what the tickets are right now in my section, and the prices definitely dropped. So here's a little strategy for you. Maybe you get a standing room only seat. This is what I wish I had done in retrospect. Get yourself in the ballpark, and then after the game starts, open up the app and see if you can buy yourself a better seat. Game Time offers you the ability to do just that. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. For those of you watching on YouTube today, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Our goal is to get to 13,000 subscribers by opening day, and we are running out of time. Just over a week left, and we still need 400 plus subscribers to get to that goal. So I appreciate all of you who continue to subscribe. All right, so let's talk about Juan Soto's legacy and how he still has the ability to become the greatest hitter of this generation. The guys that he's competing with, his former teammate Aaron Judge, and I think that's probably a conversation for another day. I think for Judge, his peak is going to be insane. The question is, how long will his longevity be? The fact that he debuted later than Juan Soto, much later than Juan Soto did, that's going to hurt his career numbers overall. But for the purpose of today's show, we're just going to compare Juan Soto and Shohei Ohtani. And the fact is, Juan Soto has time on his hands because he can play for 5 more years, or he is under contract to play for 5 more years than Ohtani is. Actually, 6 more years. Yes, 15-year deal starting now. Ohtani's 10-year deal started last year. So 6 more years than Ohtani. If you look at what they've done so far, it's a pretty interesting comparison. Juan Soto, career 285 hitter. Shohei Ohtani, career 282 hitter. On base percentage, Juan Soto, the active leader amongst all players in career OBP at 421, Ohtani at 371. Then you look at slug, Soto 532, Ohtani 575 career slug. OPS 953 for Soto, 945 for Ohtani. The last 2 years, though, Shohei Ohtani has finished with an OPS over 1,000 each season. He is getting better and better and better. Juan Soto just posted a career year, but outside of 2020, which was a small sample size, he's never had a season with an OPS over 1,000. So that is what he'll have to start doing to be able to be close to the same level as Ohtani. Ohtani, 225 career home runs, 878 career hits. Soto, 934 career hits, 201 career home runs. For Soto to really push Ohtani in any season, and more importantly, across their careers, one of the things he has to do is tap into more power. He's got to hit more home runs. Last year, he hit 41 home runs. That was a career high. In 2023, he hit 35 home runs, which was also a career high. So that number has climbed and climbed and climbed. Prior to that, he only has one other season where he hit over 30, and that was back in 2019 when he hit 34 home runs. Shohei Ohtani hit 44 home runs in 2023, and he got hurt, so he missed the end of that season. Would have probably gotten to 50, and last year he did get to 50. So if you look at Juan Soto and you try to compare him to that bar of Shohei Ohtani, it's going to be really tough. And we're just talking about hitting. Can Juan Soto be the best hitter in the National League this year and the best hitter in the National League for the next decade? He's got the talent to do it. There's no doubt about that. I think when you're talking about the long term of this, because I'm going to get into the specifics of this season with his current MVP odds and what he has to do to win the MVP this year, we'll talk about all that in the final segment. But if we're talking about legacy, and you're looking at the Dodgers and the Mets over the next decade, and who is going to be the more dominant team? Obviously, the Dodgers are in the lead. But the Mets have a really good president of baseball operations in David Stearns. They have an owner that can spend, even with the incredible ownership group they have at the Dodgers, someone that can spend right up there with anybody. And they have Juan Soto, and he has a really great running mate in Francisco Lindor. So as the Mets continue to evolve, they're going to have their chances to win. And ultimately, when you talk about which of these players is going to be more revered, I mean, Ohtani is for the global impact, sure, but if we're just talking about the hitter conversation, who is the best hitter from 2025 to 2034, or whatever it is, the two things that Soto is going to need, number one, is to win. That's the biggest thing, particularly head-to-head. If Juan Soto was on the New York Mets last year and you run that series back in the NLCS, I think the Mets would have beaten the Dodgers. I think that Soto could have had that level of an impact on that series. I don't think the Mets look as bad in game one as they did if they have Juan Soto there. And I think that could have changed the series in a lot of ways. I think in game three, they would have looked better. So you look at his impact, it can be felt the most in October. Because in a short sample, Shohei Ohtani might look mortal. He might. At times, he did look mortal in the playoffs. That's where Juan Soto is really going to be able to create his legacy. Getting to October and then shining when there. And if you count up the rings at the end of the day, and Juan Soto ends up with more rings than Shohei Ohtani, and guess what? They're already tied because Juan Soto won one at 20 years old. When it's all said and done, Juan Soto is a 6-time champion and Ohtani's only won 3. All of a sudden, those conversations look a lot different. The other big factor for Soto in the conversation of who is the greatest hitter of this generation is the longevity. Because Juan Soto could have the LeBron James argument in the LeBron versus Jordan. Now, this conversation might be more suited to a guy like Aaron Judge and Juan Soto because, for one, they're only hitters. And two, Judge is probably going to have a similar career arc as far as just the amount of seasons comparatively. Then again, Judge might not ever win a World Series. Who knows if the Yankees are going to do that? And so that's a whole other part of that long-standing basketball debate is, Jordan always has the ring side of it. But longevity is the thing for Juan Soto where he can compile a little bit. He's got 15 years to tack on stats. And right now, when you talk about hits, when you talk about home runs, they're pretty close between Ohtani and Soto. So when it's all said and done, the counting stats can be there for Juan Soto to have that claim as the greatest hitter of this generation. But what we do know is this guy has the talent to be the best hitter in baseball. Year in, year out, he has that ability. He hasn't quite done that yet, and that's why he still doesn't have an MVP to his name. But could that first MVP come in his first season wearing a Mets uniform? That's what I'm going to talk about to close out the show. First, though, another quick word from our sponsors. Today's episode is brought to you by Just Ingredients. When it comes to fueling your body, quality matters. That's why Just Ingredients is changing the game with clean, high-quality products designed to support better health and peak performance. Just Ingredients offers an NSF-certified line of protein powder, electrolytes, pre-workout, and creatine, all rigorously tested to ensure that they're free from substances banned by major athletic organizations. Just Ingredients has also partnered with two-time MVP Bryce Harper, who trusts their NSF certified sports line to fuel his training and recovery. And what's great about Just Ingredients, what I love, is it's just clean and transparent ingredients. Okay, they prioritize wholesome, nourishing ingredients without the artificial junk, and they fuel performance. Whether you're recovering after a workout or you need the energy boost, their grass-fed whey protein and pre-workout deliver real results. I've already noticed that I've been a little bit more spry in my workouts. I feel a little bit better when I go on my runs. That's thanks to Just Ingredients. Visit justingredients.us/Bryce Harper and use code LOCKEDONMLB for 20% off your order. And for more wellness tips, follow at just.ingredients on Instagram.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
If you're an everyday listener of the show, make sure you become a Locked On Mets insider. This is our texting service where you get updates from me anytime news breaks in the Mets. You can ask me questions anytime. You can also take part in our Locked On Mets sign photo giveaways. If you want to be Locked On Mets insider, find a link in the episode description. Go to subtext.com/LockedOnMets. All right, so if you look at the MVP odds right now at FanDuel, Shohei Ohtani is the current favorite at plus 145. Juan Soto has the second best odds at plus 550. Then you got Fernando Tatis Jr. at plus 850. Mookie Betts at plus 1,000. Bryce Harper at plus 1,400. Kyle Tucker at plus 1,700. Ellie De La Cruz at plus 2,000. And then Francisco Lindor at plus 2,200. Now, betting advice for me, I would sprinkle a little something on Lindor if you just have to have a Met to win the MVP. And I'd probably not throw any real money on Soto just because those odds are telling you the type of favorite that Ohtani is. He is by far the biggest favorite in any award race. You look at the AL, Aaron Judge sitting plus 300, Bobby Witt Jr. plus 310. They're basically saying those two guys are going to win, but the next guy is, I think, Gunnar at plus 650. You look at Paul Skeens for the NL Cy Young, that's plus 200, which is crazy. Roki Sasaki's plus 200 for NL Rookie of the Year. Tariq School plus 350 for AL Cy Young. So you see all these other award races and where the favorites are at. No one has better odds than plus 200 except for Ohtani at plus 145. And that's just because he does both pitching and hitting. At least this year, he is going to try again. And with that, he's the overwhelming favorite because he is going to rack up crazy award totals. He's going to do things no one else can. So you have to understand that Juan Soto's case to win the MVP, it's going to have to be overwhelming on the hitting side of things. So what would it take for Juan Soto to win the MVP? He was an 8-win player last year, 41 home runs, 109 RBIs. How does he get to be an 11-win player? Because I'm just going to pencil in Ohtani for 10 wins above replacement. So how does he get to 11? Instead of hitting 288, go out and hit 320. Contend for a batting title. Instead of hitting 41 home runs, got to hit 50. Instead of driving in 109 runs, make that a $130. Do all of that and also try to be at least average defensively. Juan Soto says that he would prefer to win a Gold Glove over an MVP. That's a great quote. It's a good thing to say. Can he actually put into practice and be that good of a defender? I don't really buy that he's ever going to win a Gold Glove, but can he be average? I think he can be average. And if he is, that's certainly going to help the WAR total. But if you want to make your case for why Juan Soto can be a better hitter than Shohei Ohtani this year and can ultimately put up good enough numbers to contend for an MVP, look at the quality of contact. There's a stat called expected weighted on base average, xWOBA. This is supposed to tell us who the best hitters are in Major League Baseball. Last year, who were the top three? Aaron Judge at 479, Juan Soto at 462, Shohei Ohtani at 442. Best hitters in baseball. Now, what is this stat? xWOBA is formulated using exit velocity, launch angle, and on certain types of batted balls, sprint speed. That definition coming from MLB.com. They continue to say that in the same way that each batted ball is assigned an expected batting average, every batted ball is given a single, double, triple, and home run probability based on the results that are comparable to batted balls since StatCast was implemented into Major League Baseball league-wide in 2015. So now you got about a decade of data that now will inform us with, okay, Shohei Ohtani just hit a line drive with a launch angle of 24 degrees and an exit velocity of 110. That's going to be a home run, 99% of the time, or whatever it is, right? Juan Soto hit one 118 miles an hour with a launch angle of 4 degrees. It was a piss missile, just a line drive. That's going to be a double, 90% of the time, and a triple 5%, whatever it is, right? And it's all this math, but ultimately it gives you a expected statistic that puts a value on hitting. Juan Soto was more valuable in that stat than Shohei Ohtani was last year. The results weren't quite as good. Ohtani was able to get into a little more power, hit more home runs in game, but that doesn't mean that Juan Soto can't get there. Juan Soto can hit 50 home runs. I really believe that he can. Last year he hit 41, and you'd say, okay, well, that was the ballpark. It was the short porch, right? Well, actually, if you look at expected home runs by park, so this is park factor. This is taking all your batted balls, putting them all in one ballpark, and saying, how many home runs would you hit there? Last year, if he played all of his games at Yankee Stadium, he would have hit 46 home runs. But also, if he played all of his games at Citi Field, he would have hit 46 home runs, because how many wall scrapers was he hitting out to right field in Yankee Stadium? Now, there could be a mental side of it, right? There could be something to be said about seeing that short porch and it helping you. But guess what? It's not that hard to pull the ball down the line at Citi Field and hit home runs. It's really not, especially when you have Juan Soto's power. Funny stat, last year, park factor, which ballpark would he hit the most home runs at? It's always going to be Great American Small Park, 63, if he played all of his games there. Now, look at career OPS by ballpark. The best ballpark that he has played in when you talk about OPS is actually Guaranteed Rate Field for the White Sox. OPS over 1,500. That's only in 8 games. In 6 games played at Globe Life Field in Texas for the Rangers, over 1,300 for his OPS. Coliseum, 1.196, the now vacant Coliseum. Cincinnati, Great American Small Park, 1.86 OPS in 14 games. Next up on that list is Citi Field. If you're talking about ballparks that he has played, over 30 games in, Citi Field's his favorite park. Career OPS at Citi Field of 1.175 in 35 games. He's a career 330 hitter at Citi Field, 466 on base, 709 slug, 12 home runs, 26 RBIs. Granted, he got to hit against Mets pitching, and for some of those years, Mets pitching was not great, but for other years, it was. For other years, you had Jacob deGrom in there, a Max Scherzer. There were some good pitchers over the years. Look at his numbers in Philly and Atlanta, and again, you'll see an OPS over 1,000 at each stop. He's hit a dozen more home runs in Atlanta and a baker's dozen more in Philly. So if you're looking at those ballparks, Juan Soto can thrive. And of course, we know that he'll be very comfortable whenever he goes back to Washington. The only ballpark in this division that he struggles with is Lone Depot Park, the Marlins ballpark. But other than that, this is where he's comfortable. I think there's going to be a sense of ease to be back in the NL East where he started his career. I think it's going to feel so good and right for him to be back in this division. And to hit at Citi Field, I think he's going to thrive. And I think he's the type of guy, if you watch what he's done in spring training, I don't care about the stats. I really don't. Although they are insane. But for me, it's the fact that Juan Soto steps into the box in front of whatever it is at Clover Park in Port St. Lucie, 8,000 Mets fans or whatever it is. And at a time where he could just be working on his game, he is swinging for the fences. He is trying to put on a show for the Mets fans. And I think there is a responsibility that comes with signing a $765 million contract that I think he is uniquely suited to rise to that occasion. I'm not expecting a Francisco Lindor 2021 season of getting that big deal and getting in your head and struggling offensively, because Francisco Lindor is a great player, but that's because he's a great defensive shortstop and he's a very good hitter. But the bat isn't what he leads with. He leads with the glove and the bat follows. For Juan Soto, the bat's never a question. And so when I look at what Juan Soto has to do to win the NL MVP this year, it's having the best season of his career offensively, and I think that everything is set up for him to do just that. I think he can hit 50. I think he can win a batting title. I don't think that there's anything that this guy can't do in a batter's box. And I still think that for my money and for a lot of people's money, for your life, you need one guy to get on base. Juan Soto is clearly the guy. For my money, for anyone else's money too. One guy to come through and get the big hit when it matters most. Go back, watch that at bat against the Guardians that put the Yankees in the World Series. This guy has an ability to quiet everything, to command a batter's box like nobody else, and to win any battle against any pitcher out there. Regardless of if he beats Ohtani this year in the MVP or not, regardless of if he goes down as the greatest hitter in this generation or the second or third greatest hitter in this generation, getting to watch Juan Soto chase greatness for the next decade is going to be an absolute treat for Mets fans and something that we should never take for granted. And guess what? We're 8 days away from watching that journey begin. So it's going to be a ton of fun once we get there. Coverage on this show over the next week. Plus, I am going to go out of town this weekend for my cousin's wedding, but I am stocking up episodes for you. I'm about to record right after this an episode breaking down the top infields in the National League. It's basically, you're getting a lot of shows at the end of this week where I'm going to compare the Mets to the Braves and the Phillies to try to give you a very comprehensive NL East preview with those three teams. So I'll be doing who's got the best infield, who's got the best outfield. I have a grading system to grade all these different players and then to grade the units together. Then I'm going to go through the pitchers to close it out. So those are going to be the three shows to close out the week. I'm expecting we might get some news of some kind for your Thursday show, and then I'll stockpile these 3 episodes for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If we don't get any big news or anything on Wednesday here, Thursday we'll do the infield, and we'll just roll into outfield and pitching to close out the week. So that's going to be all for today's show. You have all that to look forward to. If you are watching on YouTube, please do me that favor and hit the subscribe button. If you are listening on the audio side, follow, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to follow us on social media, you can do so. Follow myself, Finkelstein Ryan. Follow the show at Locked On Mets. Thank you for making Locked On Mets your first listen, your first watch every day. Now for your second watch, head over to YouTube and check out the first ever 24/7 streaming channel that covers everything, the world of sports. We're talking about Locked On Sports today with our local hosts from each team, league hosts from each league, on Locked On Sports Today, streaming 24/7 on YouTube.